Oh, that, I don't know. Shadow, I don't know. Yes, I mean some of the lights like inside. Hi, Selenas, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
Fine, good, good, good. Okay, today we're going to conclude with Hamlet. Next time, I would like for us to have a look at Othello.
Okay.
Have you heard of the Shakespeare play before?
No.
No. Again, it's a tragedy. It's not one of the comedies, and you will encounter. I'm not going to tell you too much, but a true villain, where Shakespeare really goes to town. What we mean by this is he pulls no punches. He really most villainous character.
Okay.
Okay. So it's great fun to see a real villain in action, and you think to yourself, what does this character do next? So
yeah.
But we're going to conclude with Hamlet. So what I've done for you is I've done basically a character analysis for you, as if I was a profiler. So somebody actually profiling the characters. So we think a very modern thing to do, contemporary thing to do, that the police do. But no, I've actually done it, and it was done in the past. So, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you will just be able to see my files for a moment.
Yeah.
Can you actually see?
Yes.
You can see now. Okay. So I was actually thinking about all of the main characters and see where we go. See if there's actually any of them that you actually like. I was hard pressed to actually like any of them, actually, but that's just my opinion. Let me see yours. But I'm going to hand over to you. And see what you think. So I'm going to hand over to you now, and I'm here just to support. So you're going to start with Claudius. Can you hear me okay?
It's not opened yet.
It's not open for you yet. Okay, fine. It's showing me here that it is, but Any better?
Yes. It's open.
Perfect. Oh. You don't have any problems with signals. We just had the most horrific time with signals, thinking, oh no, is this going to work or not? Okay, but you can see it now.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, fine.
Okay. Shakespeare's violins are complex, unlike the earlier antitheses of the revenge or morality plays that were popular in Elizabethan and Jacobean culture. Shakespearean criminals like the simple clarity for absolute evil. Claudius is a perfect example of a quaintine Shakespearean antagonist.
Okay.
Claudius.
Just a second there. So there are things that maybe we want to explain here. Shakespeare's villains are complex and they're complicated characters. None of them are entirely evil, even the worst of them. And the worst, one of the worst you'll encounter in Othello. But they're all complicated. Often, even though they're thoroughly unpleasant characters, you do have some kind of sympathy, being that you have some understanding of where it comes from. They may have a point to a certain extent. So none of them really are out and out just evil. Some come close, but none are, you actually say, no, there is nothing, there is no redeeming features in this person whatsoever. His characters are far more complicated and complex than that. So unlike the earlier anti-heroes, so this is another way of saying villain, of the revenge or morality plays. In the morality plays, which were popular at the time, all of these plays tell you what you should do, what is right and what is wrong. And normally, right triumphs in the end. And these were all popular in the Elizabethan and Jacobean culture. So, Elizabethan, when Queen Elizabeth I was queen, and Jacobean straight after. So after she passed away, the line of succession to the English throne went to her nephew, who was James I of England, James VI of Scotland. He was indeed Scottish, but his was the Jacobean time. Shakespearean criminals lack the simple clarity of absolute evil. Yes, this is what we were saying. There's far more to them than that. And maybe you have a little bit of understanding of their point of view. Claudius is a perfect example of a quintessential, which is very normal Shakespearean antagonist. So an antagonist is somebody who antagonizes the plot. This means he is essential to the plot, and he's normally, he or she, sometimes Shakespeare wrote she as well, they were the bad guys. But the plot wouldn't be the plot without them. So quintessential, the normal for the time of Shakespearean villains. All okay?
Okay.
Yeah, understand?
Yes.
Yes, okay. There you go.
Claudius is socially adept and his charm in genuine, he can exhibit deep distress over his dear brother's death and admiration for his wife. The imperial jointress to this warlike state, he knows the value of a great funeral, but quickly turns mourning into celebration and moves on with mirth in funeral and with dirge in marriage to whatever lies ahead. He is a decisive man, fair in his politics, and commanding. If Gertrude's allegiance is any induction in his bedroom.
Okay, so what this means is he's socially adept. He's friendly outwardly. People like him, and hey, he's one of the guys. And you know, I'm not going to boss you around. I'm not going to be a commanding king. You can trust me. I'm likable. You know this character. I'm approachable. Just because I'm king now doesn't mean to say you can't come for a chat and you know a few drinks together. You know, let's talk like we always did.
Yeah.
So he appears likable, and his charm is genuine. People like him. He can exhibit, he can show deep distress over his dear brother's death. Yeah, oh, my brother's died. You know, this is the worst thing possible. And in addition, admiration for his wife. So he can be very upset outwardly that his brother is dead, but it doesn't mean to say that he won't show an admiration for his sister-in-law. Yeah? His brother's wife. Yeah, the imperial, this is what this means. So this is a direct quote. The imperial jointress to this warlike state. So the queen, so the imperial jointress. So ESS is normally applied to the feminine. So we know we're talking about a woman here. Imperial, imperial is king or queen to this warlike state. Well, it is Denmark who are about to embark on a war with Norway. He knows the value of a good funeral. Okay, you know, I'm going to send my brother off. My brother has died and I'm going to send him off with all the rights, all the privileges, and everybody says, well, isn't he a good guy? He's looking after right to the end his brother. You know, he's done the right thing by his brother. So he knows the value of a good funeral to other people. So he's showing, he's demonstrating what a good brother he was. But
acting.
Yes.
He is good actor.
Yes, he is. But quickly turns mourning into celebration and moves on. So he's in deep mourning for his brother, or at least appears to be. But he soon gets over that and moves on. You know, with mirth in funeral. Mirth means merry, laughing, celebratory. So he's celebrating at the funeral. Well, he has every reason to. He's about to steal the throne from Hamlet. So he's, you know, okay, and backslabbing, and, you know, I'm one of the guys, and okay, let's celebrate my brother's life. Let's not be miserable. Okay, and with dirge in marriage. Okay, even if I don't like her, I'll put up with her. She's queen after all. and she's joint queen. She's not just what we would call a queen consort. So she hasn't been made queen just because she's married to the king. No, she's a queen in her own name. So even if I don't like her, she has value. Yeah?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, to whatever lies ahead. So I'll put up with her. You know, she's quite valuable. He's a decisive man, sure is. He took very, very quick action. So he's very decisive. It doesn't take him long to make a decision. You know, he thinks it, he acts it. That's it. Yeah, no, unlike Hamlet, he's not wandering around unable to make a decision. No, he makes very snap decisions. He's very quick. He's fair in his politics. Yes, he's fair. Okay, so does Norway have a case here? Okay, how can I settle things with Norway? We don't really want a war. We can't afford a war. Maybe they're going to beat us. Okay, what's the best deal I can get for us? So he's fair like that, and commanding. He's a true man's man. Yeah? Prefers the company of men, likes enjoying himself with his mates. So we would say this is a man's man. So doesn't have much time for female, what would he would say, hysterics and female emotion. No, no, no. He much prefers male company. If Gertrude's allegiance is any indication, she is loyal to him. As far as Gertrude is concerned, he's done nothing wrong, neither is she. So in their personal life, she is loyal to him. She doesn't have a moment's doubt that she's done the wrong thing here. Okay? All okay?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The queen has chosen to marry Claudius, and she defends him even to her son. In fact, she never opposes Claudius in anything. Were he dark and sinister in all things, she would fear and despise him. She follows him willingly, even when he arranges to send her beloved son into the jaws of death. He must be sincere in his love for her. He explains his feelings for her at the end of act, but he has proven these feelings constantly throughout the play.
Okay. So what this means is she's chosen to marry him. It's of Gertrude's own free will. And she defends him all the time, even to her own son. She stands by him. In fact, she never opposes anything that Claudius says or does. She never, even privately, says he's wrong. So we have a saying, even military terms, they would say, I would never disagree with you, Captain, in front of the men, but in private, no, she doesn't even do this in private. She follows him in everything. Were he dark and sinister in all things? If, so it's saying here, were he, if he was. So they're not saying he was dark and sinister. Do you understand the word sinister?
No.
No? So even if he had very dark thoughts and sinister, sinister is the way I can best explain it is a little evil. Not completely evil, but even a little bit, where you're saying, oh, I'm not sure I like this guy. This would be sinister. Something that would make you slightly afraid. But Shakespeare's not saying he was, he's saying were he, if he was. So that gives you a clue that Shakespeare wasn't saying that he was evil. Were he dark and sinister in all things? So, maybe in one or two he is, but not in everything. She would fear him and despise him. So Shakespeare is saying if he was evil, if he was completely bad, she'd be afraid of him, and despise him is another word for hate. So she would be scared of him and hate him. Yet Shakespeare says she follows him willingly. So this is not a weak and feeble woman here being told what to do. She's doing this of her own free will. She's giving her consent.
Yeah.
Follows him willingly, even when he arranges to send her beloved son into the jaws of death. This is when Claudius sends him to England. Yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
He, in turn, must be sincere in his love for her. He certainly admires her, all right, and he certainly likes her position. He explains his feelings for her at the end of Act 4. But he has proven these feelings consistently throughout the play. Throughout the play, he says he loves her. And he sticks to that even to the end. Okay. Over to you.
The queen, his mother, lives almost by his looks, and for myself, my virtue of my plague, be it either which, she is so conjunctive to my life and soul, that as the star moves not but in his sphere, I could not by her.
Yes.
A character.
Okay, so here, the queen, his mother, so where Polonius is actually speaking here, lives almost by his looks. And for myself, so she's looking to him. So lives almost by his looks. So this means that, again, it's saying that she's a willing associate with Claudius. He's not forcing her into anything. So they understand, you know, each other. They know each other well. My virtue or my plague, be it either which. So my virtue, what is good about me, or my plague, what is bad about me, be it either which. She's so conjunctive to my life and soul. So she is important to my life and to my soul. That as the star moves, not but in his sphere, I could not by her. So she is the sun in which he moves around. So he's basically saying all of this is for her. So it doesn't sound like a man that doesn't think anything of her at all.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
He does sound sincere in that. Okay.
A character who loves is not merely a cold-blooded killer like Hamlet. His conflicting imperatives tear him apart.
Yes.
Whereas he recognizes that his offense is rank and smells to heaven. He also admits that he will not make amends with God because he refuses to give up what his crime has brought him. He is willing to take the consequences of his actions. In some ways, Claudius accepts more heroism than Hamlet. He manipulates fortune and takes what is not rightfully his, but remains unapologetic for his actions. He possesses enough strength to attempt that he would do the same again. Hamlet turned by conscience to smite the morally defense. Claudius causes the death of 6 innocent people before he accomplished his goal by taking full responsibility for his actions. Claudius mitigates his evil nature.
Okay, so we'll stop there. So we're saying a character who obviously loves Gertrude, there's more to him than being just a cold-blooded killer. So just like Hamlet, his conflicting imperatives tear him apart. So he's not so different from Hamlet. The conflicting, the opposing parts of his nature and his character, in the end, tear him apart, just as it does with Hamlet. It's not a happy ending for either of them. It's not a happy ending for any of them, but for either of these two characters, this does not end happily. And part of this is their own natures, their own characters. They both have completely opposing, conflicting parts of their natures. Completely sane, rational, one of the guys, happy-go-lucky, jolly, 1 minute, and very dark the next. So in this, Shakespeare is actually saying, you can see that they're related. Not so far to think that they are uncle and nephew. So they're suffering from the same kind of afflictions, yeah?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Whereas he recognizes that he is a fence in rank and smells to heaven. So he's saying he recognizes that he's gone from being the spare, we have a saying in English, the heir and the spare. So the one that's born to be king and the younger brother there, just in case something goes wrong, the spare. So his offense is rank. Okay? And smells to heaven. So he's actually saying, he's admitting that some of his dealings are a bit shady and a bit dirty. He also admits that he will not make amends with God because he refuses to give up what his crime has brought him. So he's saying, I can't say I'm sorry because I'm not. He's willing to take the consequences of his actions. So he's not saying, yeah, okay, I'm going to go and confess my sins and be really sorry about it and give back, if you like, everything that I've taken, that I've robbed. He says no. I'll take the consequences. If you say I'm going to hell, well, I'll go to hell. This is, Shakespearean times, this is what they were afraid of, more than anything else, their mortal souls. And Claudius is quite willing to give his up for what he's gained right now. He'll think about the future when that comes. He'll cross that bridge when he comes to it. Yeah? He's not going to worry about that now. He'll worry about that later. In some ways, Claudius exhibits more heroism than Hamlet. Why? Because he's honest. So even though his actions have not been heroic at all, certainly not all of them, he is still more honest about them. He will admit to what he's done. He manipulates fortune and takes what is not rightfully his. Yeah, sure, he's taken the throne. It's not rightfully his, but he's done it anyway. But remains unapologetic for his actions. He's saying, don't ask me to say sorry. I'm not. He possesses enough strength to admit that he would do the same again. So people often say, if you could have your time again and do something differently, what would you do? Claudius is saying nothing. I wouldn't do anything different. I would do the same thing again and again and again. So he's not sorry, but he's certainly honest about it. Hamlet, torn by conscience, that voice inside him, to smite the morally deficient Claudius. So they're saying Claudius is without a moral compass. You know, he has no conscience. This is why he's not going to apologize, because to him he's done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So we would say today, perfect example of a psychopath. Has no moral, he's cold, he's calculating. But he doesn't have that internal driver that says, okay, this is wrong and you need to do something about it. No, he doesn't have that. So the morally deficient means not enough moral fiber. So deficient means not enough. So not enough morals causes the death of 6 innocent people before he accomplishes his goal. But still, Claudius would say they were casualties of war. Yeah, they got caught in the crossfire. Taking full responsibility for his actions, Claudius mitigates his evil nature. So he's taking responsibility for it and saying, I would do the same, come what may, whatever happens at the end, I'll stand up and say, yes, it was me. So in some ways, this mitigates. Do you know what it means to mitigate?
Push out or make it higher.
Yes, in some ways. If you mitigate something, you find reasons for it and make those reasons almost legitimate to other people. So you've got other people thinking, well, maybe he's got a point here. So it mitigates, gives reason for his nature, which in some ways is evil, and in some ways not. So they're saying he does bad things, but at least he's honest about it. You know where you are with him. Yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
You know what to expect. You mess with him, you're going to get caught. And he's not going to deal with you in a nice way. So if you play games with him or stand up to him, don't expect any mercy. But if you're his friend, well, you're his friend, and he'll be loyal to you. So he gives back loyalty where he receives it. So he's received loyalty from Gertrude, and he gives that back. He's loyal to her. Okay.
Okay.
So over to you.
Okay. The mark of a great Shakespearean enthusiast is how completely his memories the protagonist Claudius is not more Machiavellian than Hamlet. Both ultimately believe that the end justifies the means, and both ultimately scarface humanity and humans in the equations of their goals. What makes Claudius a villain is that he is wrong and Hamlet is right. Claudius is a sneak who murdered and lied. Hamlet commits his murders in the open and suffers.
Yep. So to the end here.
Okay.
What? The
The
pangs.
the pangs of his own conscience. Claudius subverts his conscience and refuses to ask for divine forgiveness. Hamlet seeks conversion and absolves himself of guilt before he dies. Claudius receives no absolution and seeks none. Hamlet will spend eternity in heaven. Claudius will burn in hell.
Okay, so this is huge. The mark of a great Shakespearean antagonist. So the antagonist is the one who antagonizes, causes trouble, is how completely he mirrors the protagonist, who is the hero. So you've got antagonist, the anti-hero, the one that causes the trouble and the problems, is how completely he mirrors. They're like a mirror reflection of each other. So if you can imagine looking in the mirror, your own reflection shines out at you. This is what he's saying, that Claudius and Hamlet are like mirror images of each other. But Hamlet is the protagonist, the supposed hero in this. Claudius is no more Machiavellian. So what he means by Machiavellian is a 14th century Italian politician called Machiavelli, who was known to lie and cheat and, yes, indeed, murder. So he's no more Machiavellian than Hamlet. So they both do the same. Both ultimately believe that the end justifies the means. So do whatever you have to do to get the result that you believe is right. This is what they're both saying, both Claudius and Hamlet. And both ultimately, in the end, sacrifice humanity and humaneness. So they're sacrificing their own humanity, their treatment of others, and what is humane, what it is to treat somebody as a fellow human. And they both sacrifice this, they both give this up in the acquisition of their goals, getting what it is they ultimately want. They both do this, both Claudius and Hamlet. So you can see how they are mirror images of each other, yeah?
Yes.
So what makes Claudius a villain then? So what makes him a villain is that he's wrong.
Yeah. Yes.
Simple as that. He's in the wrong, and Hamlet
Yeah.
is right.
Yes.
I don't like Hamlet either. That's why I said I personally, me, Julie, is hard pressed to find anybody that I actually like in this. Maybe Ophelia. I feel just a bit sorry for her. And Hamlet is correct. Claudius is a sneak who murdered and lied.
Yeah.
So he
Yes.
snuck around and he's murdered. Has he murdered his own brother? Yes, probably. And lied about it. Hamlet also murders, but he does it in the open. He doesn't even try to hide it. Yes, he's murdered, but he's murdered openly.
Yeah.
And suffers the pangs of his own conscience. So that voice inside him is telling him what he's doing is wrong. So he hasn't lost all humanity yet. Claudius subverts his conscience. So subverts, redirects. He sends his conscience on another journey. It's over there somewhere. It's not in him. He's sent it in another direction. He doesn't want to hear it.
Yes, he loses all the morals in all life. He loses everything.
Everything. So he subverts his conscience and refuses to ask for divine forgiveness. Okay, forgiveness from God. He says no, he won't ask for forgiveness. Hamlet seeks contrition.
Oh.
So he says he's sorry and absolves him. Yeah, so he seeks contrition. So he looks to apologize, to say he's wrong and he's sorry for everything that he's done. Because he's done a lot. And absolve himself. Yes, go on. Go on, Luna.
What? Sorry, the signal go.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Sir Hamlet seeks to say sorry. He's realized what he's done hasn't been good. And he absolves himself of guilt. So this means he goes to a priest, to somebody holy, and admits what he's done. So he does this before he dies. So he seeks forgiveness from the divine, and that's God. Claudius receives no absolution and seeks none. So he doesn't have a priest saying, I forgive you, and God forgives you, and if you're truly sorry, everything will be okay. He doesn't do this. He doesn't receive that, but he doesn't ask for it either. So he isn't forgiven, but he's not asking to be forgiven either. So because Hamlet sought forgiveness from the church for everything he did, he will spend eternity in heaven, where Claudius did not. So they say Claudius will burn in hell.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, this is all about the religious things that run all the way through. It is a thing that runs through all of Shakespeare's plays, but it's a thing that ran through all morality plays of the time. We were in a different time. This is why it was so important to get into the mind of Shakespeare himself. Religion was terribly important.
Yeah.
Far more than it is for us today. We are a secular society. and it's just not as important today. But in Shakespeare's time, it was everything. Okay? They believed very firmly in the heaven and hell, and they were afraid of this. You will go to hell. This was a mortal fear. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so now we're coming on to Gertrude. Gertrude, what do we make of her?
Gertrude is a shadowy character with little substance of which to hang a characterization. We can examine her thought, what others say about her more than so what she says. That she is the imperial jointress to the throne of Denmark indicates that he wants some power and suggests that Claudius' decision to marry her had political implications, yet Hamlet indicates all women by calling her fickle frailty. The name is woman we see thought Hamlet the picture of a woman who one day lived obediently and in the shadow of one king to whom she was devoted. The next day she allies herself in love and politics with the polar opposite of the man she formerly called husband.
Okay, so what Shakespeare is saying here is we have very little knowledge of Gertrude the woman. Not much of that. So there's very little to take apart, to profile in what she actually says herself. She doesn't say much. So we can examine her only through the words of others, what they say about her, more than what she actually says about herself. So we can't gauge what kind of woman she is in her own words, because she doesn't really speak many. So that she is the imperial jointress to the throne of Denmark indicates that she wields some power. So, again, Shakespeare very famous for actually giving women power. Not the thinking at all. This was shocking. Giving a woman a voice, shocking. Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
In his time.
Yeah.
And this suggests that Claudius's decision to marry her did have some political implications. So he wasn't just marrying her for love alone. Well, this is Claudius. Did we ever think otherwise? Yeah, if she was a normal woman in the street, would he want to marry her?
No.
No, no. She's queen and she's joint queen.
Yeah.
She had power.
That's all of the thing.
Yes, yes. It was certainly a good bit of it. Maybe he did admire her for her, but she did have an added attraction. Not just her pleasant personality or her beauty or whatever. Being joint queen of Denmark had an awful lot to do with it. And this is Claudius.
Yeah.
So, had political implications. Yep, it made for very good politics. He would be accepted a lot easier with her by his side. Yet Hamlet indicts, which means questions all women by calling her fickle. So any idea what that means? Fickle. Any ideas?
No.
No? Okay. So fickle would mean, you could say a bee, a honeybee is fickle. It flies from one flower to another, collecting pollen.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's saying his mother is the same. She's gone
Yeah.
from his father to his
To
brother.
Claudius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To his brother. And he say, frailty, weakness, thy name is woman. So weakness connects with woman. So often I've played games with my adult students and actually said, okay, think of one word to describe something. He's doing exactly this game 450 years ago. There's giving him the word woman and he's saying frailty, weakness. Yeah?
Yes. Yes.
See through Hamlet the picture of a woman who one day lived obediently. This is the word, obedience. You are a woman, you do what I say, when I say, you will obey, or else. Yeah?
Yes.
And in the shadow of one king to whom she was devoted. So she was devoted to her first husband. The next day, she allies herself in love and politics with the polar opposite, complete opposite of the man she formerly called husband. So Hamlet is not saying, hey mother, you should be a widow forever. No, he's not saying that. What he's saying is, how can you love a man that is the complete opposite to my father? How? How can you do that? So, kind of get where he's coming from there. I was a widow myself. And, you know, my second husband is in personality very much like my first. So I can't understand how a woman whose husband has died can suddenly marry a man that was completely the opposite. Very strange, very strange.
Yes.
But having said that, he was very charming. Yes, he talks a good talk, doesn't he? Did he convince her?
Maybe.
We know that he's a very charming man. Okay. So
the most haunting question about Gertrude's character revolves around whether she knows that Claudius is a criminal. Is she merely a dependent woman who needs to live through her man? Is she a conniving temptress who used her power to conspire with Claudius to kill King Hamlet and usurp Prince Hamlet's ascendancy? Ascendancy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the big question. Huge question. And we'll need to character analyze her to maybe answer it. One of the big question, the most haunting of questions about Gertrude's character revolve around whether she knows that Claudius is a criminal. So does she secretly know he's a bad guy?
Yeah.
Is she merely a dependent woman? She's got no other options, who needs to live through her man? She needs a man to support her. Is she that
No.
woman? No.
No.
Is she a conniving temptress? Is she leading him?
Yeah.
Who used her power to conspire with Claudius? Are they joint bad guys in this?
Yeah.
Is she as bad as him? To kill King Hamlet. So did she conspire with his younger, more charming, more, okay, let's take it down to base terms, to better looking, better option, younger brother? Did she do that? Did she conspire to get rid of her first husband and marry his younger brother? We don't know.
Yeah.
So did she do that? Is she a temptress? Did she tempt Claudius to kill King Hamlet and usurp Prince Hamlet's ascendancy? So did she plot with Claudius to kill her husband and to snatch the throne away from her son? Did she do that? Is she that woman? Is she the woman who's just doing what she's told? She's made her bed, now she's got to lie on it. She's a dependent woman, she's got no other options because she can't be queen in her own right. So what for her then? She doesn't fancy being the queen mother, takes her down the pecking order. So her son should be king now, her husband's dead, which makes her the queen mother, which suddenly puts her now lower than a future queen.
In a lower step.
A lower status. So she stays queen by marrying the younger brother, who's now king. She stays here in the pecking order. She becomes the queen's mother, she goes down. And that place is taken by her son's wife, and she's below. Now, today, no, that's not the case. The king or queen's mother is on the side. She would be known as the dowager queen or the queen mother. And it's a sidestep. But then, at this time, it was lower. So, this is the real big question relating to Gertrude. Did she conspire with Claudius? Okay. So let's have a look. See what
No
Shakespeare says.
textual reference. Okay. No textual reference are conclusive. The ghost of King Hamlet calls her his most seeming virtuous queen. He entreats Hamlet to leave her to heaven and to those thorns that in her bosom lodge, to prick and sting her. These words could imply that she has reason to be guilty, that she is not blameless. Later, the ghost implores Hamlet to comfort her. But look, amazement on the mother sits, oh, step between her and her fighting soul. Again, he wakes protective of her, but implies that she has some reason to be spiritually conflicted.
Okay, so what's he saying here? What do you take all of that to mean?
What?
Okay, what do
How?
you think that all of that actually means? If you had to sum that paragraph up, how would you do it? If you're not sure, don't worry, I'm here to help.
Okay. Sorry, can you say the question again?
Yes, okay. If you were to sum up that paragraph from no textual references down to conflicted, if you were to sum that up, what do you think that means?
That he hates so much his mother.
Yes, he's not at all happy with what she's done. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what Shakespeare is saying here is there are no references that tell us exactly where Gertrude is on the scale of, was she involved in the plot to kill her husband, or was she an innocent bystander? Shakespeare doesn't tell us. We are left to guess ourselves. And again, with most classic literature, there is no right or wrong answer here. It's subjective. It's what the text is saying to you. What you believe to be right. So the ghost of King Hamlet calls Gertrude his most seeming virtuous queen. So this means is she did everything she was supposed to do. And she did everything right. So most seeming, this is another word for appropriate. So she acted the way a queen was supposed to act, and she did it all right. She didn't do any wrong. So when he was married to her, she was appropriate for what a queen was supposed to be like. She was regal. She was a sight to be seen. She was virtuous to her people. She was good to her people. He entreats Hamlet. So this word is entreat, begs. He asks most passionately Hamlet to leave her to heaven. Okay, you know, leave her. She's going to heaven. She's a good woman. And to those thorns that in her bosom lodge, to prick and sting her. So this means is if, and he's saying a big if, she has done anything wrong, either by thought or by deed, because a woman could be wrong even in thought, according to Shakespeare's time. So if she has done anything wrong, in either acted in any way wrong or thought in any way wrong, leave it to her conscience. Her conscience will tell her it's wrong. You don't need to act. Her conscience will act alone. These words could imply that she has reason to be guilty, that she is not blameless. But Shakespeare's not telling us blamed for what? For an actual deed, something that she has done, or just something that she's thought. So what could be wrong with what she's thought? Thought about a remarriage. Yeah? Later,
Yes.
the ghost implores again, begs, not just asks, more than that, Hamlet to comfort her. He's saying, look, but look, amazement on thy mother sits. So your mother is amazing. Oh, step between her and her fighting soul, comfort your mother. There's something going on with her. Go and help her. Be kind to your mother. If there's something troubling her, go and speak to her. So again, he waxes protective. He talks, waxes, talks, protective of her, but does imply that she has some reason to be spiritually conflicted. So maybe she's just even thought something bad. Some reason. He's not saying she's done anything, but maybe there is some reason that she should feel a bit guilty. Not that she's actually done anything wrong. Maybe she's thought in a way that's not exactly queenly. Yeah?
Okay. When Rosencrantz and Guildenstern arrive at Elsinore, she tells them that they have been sent for because of the way Hamlet hath talked of you, and she promises them compensation fit for a king's remembrance. She exhibits apparent sincerity in her concern for Hamlet, and yet, even after Hamlet has told her what he knows about Claudius, even after he has shared his fears of the trip to England, even after Hamlet has clearly proven that something is rotten in the state of Denmark, she never opposes Claudius to protect Hamlet, unless, as some critics believe, she drinks the poisoned wine. As an act of maternal protectiveness. Does she know the wine is poisoned? When the queen caresses to the fortune, Hamlet is she deliberately drinking to prevent Hamlet's death?
Okay, so when Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, remember they are like university, college friends, chums, pals of Hamlet's. They all go to university together. They arrive at Elsinore, and she tells them that they've been sent for because the way Hamlet has talked of you. So Hamlet has said these are his best pals. So they've invited them to the palace. And she promises them compensation fit for a king's remembrance. Okay, so she's promising to pay them for their time, house them in the palace, give them food, give them wine, give them all of the pleasures that probably as university students they're not used to. So she's promising to treat them well because of the way Hamlet has talked about them, saying that they're great friends. She exhibits apparent sincerity in her concern for Hamlet. Yes, she's worried about him. There is no doubt about that. And yet, even after Hamlet has told her what he knows about Claudius, even after she has shared his fears of the trip to England, even after Hamlet has clearly proven that there is something rotten in the state of Denmark, she never opposes Claudius to protect Hamlet. So, even when Hamlet has said, Uncle Claudius has done this, 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 and this, she still won't say, yeah, he's a bad guy. She won't do it. She's good to his friends. Hamlet tells her, look, Mum, I don't want to go to England. Yeah, I want to stay here in Denmark. Nope. She still doesn't oppose Claudius. She still doesn't raise the subject to Claudius. So, is she scared of him? So, unless, as some critics believe, now some believe this to be true, some don't, she drinks the poisoned wine as an act of maternal protectiveness. So some critics believe that she knows that Claudius is planning to have Hamlet poisoned, and she drinks it instead. To save him, she sacrifices herself. Again, Shakespeare doesn't tell you. All you know is she does drink the poisoned wine. Why, you don't know. Whether it was deliberate or an accident. He leaves that for you to decide. So does she know the wine is poisoned? When the queen carouses to thy fortune, Hamlet, she is deliberately drinking to prevent Hamlet's death. Okay, so the queen carouses to thy fortune, Hamlet. She raises a glass. She toasts Hamlet. Is she deliberately drinking it to prevent Hamlet from dying? Does she know? Does she know what Claudius has done? In a frantic act to save her son, is she drinking it in his place? Again, we don't know. Maybe we don't know for sure. So is it at that moment that she's woken up and realized, you know, she's woken up and is smelling the coffee now? She's realized that she's not married to a good guy. You know, of course. He's a rank opportunist. The only redeeming quality that he has is he's honest about it. But he's a complete opportunist. He's taken everything that isn't his and is making it his. Okay, over to you.
Okay. If Gertrude has overheard Claudius and Laertius plotting, she would know all. If she is in Claudius's confidence, she would be complected with all his conspiracies. Thought Claudius professes love and admiration for Gertrude. He never confides to anyone the extent of their relationship. Gertrude describes her love for Hamlet when she asks him not to return to Wittenberg, when she shares with Ophelia her hopes that the young woman would have married her Hamlet. She divulges her wish for his happiness. However, she never declares any kind of emotion for Claudius, either positive or negative. Ultimately, Gertrude's character remains malleable in the hands of an astute actor and a clever director. She can come across as either Claudius's co-conspirator or Hamlet's defender. Either interpretation work if built substantially.
Okay, so if Gertrude has overheard Claudius and Laertes plotting, she would know everything. If she is in Claudius's confidence, she would be complicit. She would be involved with all of his conspiracies. Although Claudius professes love and admiration for Gertrude, he never tells anyone the extent of their relationship. So he never tells anybody the complete truth. Yeah, he says that she's a wonderful woman and she's a great queen. Doesn't tell anybody more than that, more than they can see. Gertrude describes her love for Hamlet in great detail when she asks him not to return to Wittenberg, to university. She's worried about him. She's worried about his mental health. When she shares with Ophelia her hope that the young woman would have married her Hamlet. So she talks to Ophelia about this and said, oh, I had hopes that Hamlet would marry you and you would be the new queen of Denmark. She tells us, the reader, about her wish for his happiness. Excuse me. However, she never declares any kind of emotion for Claudius, either positive or negative. She stays quiet about any feeling, either to the good or to the bad, about Claudius. All we know is they're married. We don't know whether they're happily married, unhappily married, or something in the middle. We don't know. It's left for us to decide whether Claudius and Gertrude are sharing awful secrets, you know, murderous secrets. Again, we don't know. Whether she is a completely downtrodden woman who's told to know her place. Again, we don't know. So, as the story is told orally, she can be either, depending on the skill of the director or on the skill of the actress playing Gertrude. So ultimately, Gertrude's character remains malleable. You can make it what you will. In the hands of an astute actor and a clever director, she can be either Claudius's co-conspirator, she's in it up to her neck, she's completely involved and she's a wicked, wicked woman, you know, the vile temptress, which is one school of thought, or Hamlet's defender, who's realized that she's married a really unpleasant guy, and the only thing that she can do now is protect her son, and if that means drinking the poison wine, well, she'll do it to protect Hamlet. Either interpretation works if the story is built on that. If you use, because Shakespeare has very cleverly given us shades of grey of both, that he's tempted us with Hamlet's ghost saying, well, she's a fantastic woman, she's a great queen, she's your mother, but there is maybe something just a tiny bit black in her soul. She's maybe got something tiny to hide. So he's tempting us there. But also, we know she's genuinely concerned about Hamlet's mental well-being. She's got his friends to stay. You know, she's confiding in Ophelia and saying, oh, I wish he'd been able to settle down with you. So she's concerned about him. So you've got shades of both. Yes? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so, okay, so we've got the gold digger. Over to you.
Okay. Casting Polonius in a demeaning light is a common danger while he is a bellwether, and he does spot aphorisms that were even in the 16th century cliches. His cliches constitute sound advice, and his observations prove themselves prophetic. Polonius may be elderly and demented, but he must have been at least politically adept. He admits that he is not a man of great prestige, and yet he has reason to be consular to the king. Presumably, he consulted King Hamlet as well. An actor portraying Polonius should address the question of whether he is a devoted father or a ruthless politician. Does he sacrifice Ophelia to his ambition and or his fear of being discarded by the king? Does he send Rinaldo to spy on Laertius because he cares about his son, or is he worried about what Laertius' possible behavior might reflect back on his own character? Is he more concerned with his position in Denmark than with the welfare of his children? Is he then the victim of his own contrivances?
Okay, so what this means is casting Polonius in a demeaning light is a common danger. So most people actually say he is not worth worrying about. Mistake. While he is a blowhard, he loves the sound of his own voice. And he does spout aphorisms that were even in the late 16th century's cliches. So an aphorism is basically telling somebody what they want to hear. Flattery, complimenting, where it's not appropriate to do so. So Polonius is the kind of sniveling character that is running around saying, oh, to Claudius, oh, you know, you are such a king. You're so much better than the last one. You know, to Gertrude, never has there been a queen like you. You are the most queenly of queens. He's one of these. Okay?
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah, he's sycophantic. His cliches constitute, though, sound advice. Even though they're his cliches, they are based in fact. And his observations, what he sees, prove themselves prophetic. So, come true. What he sees actually does happen. So the way he sees the politics going, he's a politician and he's a shrewd politician. The way he sees the politics going like this is the way that it does go. It doesn't go like this or like this. It goes the way he thinks it will go. Polonius may be elderly, he's not a young man, and demented. He is suffering now from dementia, old age dementia. Okay? yes, it comes with advancing years. But he must have been at least politically adept. Yes, he was more than politically adept. He was a very shrewd politician. He admits he's not a man of great prestige. He wasn't born to power or indeed money. And yet he's risen to be a counselor to the king.